Hi, can I get some feed for my horse? I don't know. Can you? Bob? Yeah, it's me, Bob. Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome to NPC School, where we take simple interactions to the next level. Today we're going to be talking about the concept of know and care. Now, there are plenty of interactions that, in real life, we'd rather breeze through. But when we're at the table or on stage, we can add certain elements that give us more interesting, more compelling interactions. I'll start with this basic shopkeeper situation. Hi, can I get some feed for my horse? Yes, that'll be 5 copper. Great, here you go. Thank you. Goodbye. Now that's fairly mundane, and if that's the interaction you expect, I wouldn't blame you for wanting to skip over it. But if you want every little scene to be a little more interesting, here's what you can do. Know each other and care about each other. This is a trick I learned early on from my very first improv teacher. Make the NPC someone the player's character knows. Any level of familiarity adds another layer onto the interaction. For example, if it's someone that the player's character was in love with, that changes this interaction quite a bit. So you enter the shop and you see someone familiar behind the counter. It's Esmeralda, the girl you had a crush on when you were a kid. Hey, what's the matter? I know this person from secondary school before I left to adventure. So I'm not really ready to talk to her. Look, you got the hots for her? No! Rob? On the flip side, if the NPC is someone that the character doesn't like, that changes things quite a bit too. So you enter the shop and you see someone familiar behind the counter. It's Anna, the girl who used to tease you when you were a kid. Aren't you gonna talk to him? That's the girl that used to make fun of me when I was in school. Look, you don't need to talk to them if you don't want to. No, I do need to, for myself. But how do we get there? Now, if your player is super improv focused, you can just establish the info by saying that they see someone familiar, describing them a little bit, especially how they know this person, and you can count on them to run with it. Depending on how much of an improviser they are, you might even be able to rely on them to establish the details of the relationship on their own. But not every player is comfortable with that though. That's why we have a sliding scale, so you can make sure to adjust based on the level at which your players are ready. So, if the player is willing to, you might be able to get the information from them right before they enter the shop. Hey Gerard, I've got a question for you. As far as your character's backstory goes, are there any people that he really wouldn't like running into? Like a lich or a mind flayer? No, I mean like, maybe someone from their childhood? Oh, that's much worse. Could you give me a second? Sure. You know what? Why don't I just describe the shop a little bit while you think? Now, if your player is a bit more averse to the improv side, then you can ask them ahead of time so they can be ready. Now I've started with something that the player can play with. And if the other players around them see this and are there in that scene, they might jump in and help. Or they might make things a little bit harder. I guess it depends on how good they are at helping. But what about for you as the DM? You already established the information that the player character knows. Now you get to do the same thing from the side of the NPC. How does Esmeralda, the NPC that Yaren was in love with, feel about him? How did she feel about him back then? And how does that impact how she feels about him now? If you're comfortable with it, you can definitely make this up on the fly and use your player's roleplay to inform how this NPC behaves. Now, if you want to prepare just a little bit more, then by all means ask for the details ahead of time and then make the decision as to how this NPC is going to behave now. What do they want in this moment from the player's character? But by starting with a deeper relationship, you give this interaction a bit more weight beyond simply buying horse feed. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please like it and subscribe so you don't miss the next edition of NPC School. Until next time, take care.